What is the biblical foundation of relationship stewardship? That is the topic we're going to explore in this video to try to put some foundations down for the concepts behind radical stewardship and more specifically what we are currently focusing on, which is the radical stewardship of relationships through business. So first of all, before I start, this will not be a overly theological video. I will not be quoting Bible verses to use a foundation. I'm just going to use general concepts and explain how these general concepts apply for relationship stewardship and radical stewardship in general as a whole, and also for how these core concepts can be incorporated into businesses, whether you are Christian businesses or non-Christian businesses, whether your target audience are specifically Christians, whether it is mixed, whether it is non-Christian, whatever. All of these concepts can be applied to whatever it is that you do, whatever area in business that you're in. So let's dive in. So the first concept behind the biblical foundation of relationship stewardship is that every person is an image bearer and deserves dignity. What does this mean? If every person is an image bearer, it means that every person is made in the image of God, which is imago Dei, and that is a foundational concept which we should all have within us to help determine and decide the way that we act and behave towards others. I have been guilty of this myself so many times in my life, where I would inadvertently judge someone or judge someone's actions, or in the worst case look down on them, have a more arrogant attitude towards someone who I perceived to be in a lesser or lower position than I was in different areas of life and business, and that led me to making decisions which were not exactly the best for them and for myself. And a prime example of that is one thing that really annoys me and increases my cortisol and stress levels is noise. In particular, it'd be like heavy construction noise. It'd be sort of the bass sounds of a speaker that I'm coming through while I'm trying to sleep. And at various times when I'm stressed out, I have not behaved in the best way, and I'm cursing at the people that are doing it, and I'm frustrated, and then I take all my anger and frustration out on those around me. The point being that the perspective that I should have is that I should be viewing the people that I'm causing the noise and the cause of my stress at this moment, not as people that I'm deliberately doing it to disrupt my sleep, or deliberately doing it to disrupt my productivity, or is deliberately happening to me just because whatever reason I want to put on, but more so that they are all made in the image of God. They are all image bearers, and what they are doing is no different from what I do now currently that I might be unaware of, and what I've certainly done in the past where my own actions have disturbed others. And just having that perspective kind of brings it together that what people are doing to me is they're not doing it intentionally to me, in the same way that I didn't intentionally cause my own actions to cause pain, frustration, stress in others in the past. But it also, viewing people as image bearers, it gives you a sense of humility as well. Just using that as a context, maybe it's not the best story, but maybe so be it. In business, specifically in business, when it comes to treating people as made in the image of God, it's that this is something that I have been guilty of in the past as well, a lot, and that is that I operated my business in the past, my marketing agency, where I provided copywriting services to help clients with high ticket offers get more book calls for their high ticket offers and basically sell more of their expensive stuff. Everything that I did was specifically geared towards, will this get a book call or not? Will this convert in alignment with whatever conversion rate KPIs that we had, in order to focus on getting as much money as possible for the client? And that was my desire to make the client a lot of money to justify my fee from them superseded everything else that I did, which then led to me unintentionally, of course, using what I can now see as manipulative tactics, using my copywriting skills for bad reasons rather than using it for good, while telling myself that I was doing nothing wrong. And that was because I elevated the revenue targets of the client and the client's own needs and the client's own selfish desires to make more money because they're addicted to the cycle of making more money, like I was, above the individual's needs. So in other words, I elevated the client that I was there to serve, their needs substantially higher, exponentially higher than the individual humans who I was emailing and operating marketing campaigns to get sales for the client to. When if they are both the client and every one of their 50,000 recipients of my daily emails, if they're all made in the image of God and they're all image bearers, it kind of puts them all on the same level. And I was focusing on elevating this one person up here, whereas everybody else down there, and that ended badly for me. Both the relationship with this particular client that I had ended on good terms, but it ended in a way that was highly unfair to me, where they just suddenly terminated my contract because their sales team were not performing at the level that they should have done. I exceeded all of my goals and targets substantially, like 30, 40, 50% higher than what I promised to justify my fee, but the sales team were not converting as well as they normally were, despite the quality of the leads being the same. Yet it was me that had my contract terminated and not them, and that was entirely because it was all based on transactional decisions. But I won't go into details with that too much. The next core concept is stewardship, and the core concept behind stewardship is an important one both for Christians and non-Christians and anyone alike, and that is the concept that nothing ultimately belongs to us and that it has only been entrusted to us. That nothing ultimately belongs to us, it's only something that has been entrusted to us. And what does that mean? That means that we have been entrusted with the business that we have, the influence that we have within our sphere through our business. We have been entrusted with the money that the business makes. We've been entrusted with the relationships that we have. We do not own them. They're just given to us to manage for the flourishing and the benefit of others. And when we have this mindset, this is something that hits home strongly for me, because in the past I always thought that my business is mine, I own it. Back when I was an atheist, I was an atheist desperately searching for meaning and purpose in the work that I did, but couldn't really find any, as you'd expect, because there's no inherent meaning to what I was doing, and my only reason was to make more money, to quote, have a better lifestyle, have more freedom. So in other words, everything I did was for my own selfish interest. I would argue that, and maybe correctly, that I wanted to accumulate wealth and revenue and money in the business and all of these things so that I can provide a good life for my family, which is true. And maybe that's a good enough reason to do it, or perhaps it's not. I don't know. But the bottom line is that having that mindset where the business belongs to me, everything belongs to me, it's my own, it's not stewarded to me. What that caused is, number one, idolatry. Making money became my idol. Every decision I made was based on, will this make more money or not? That was a result of my own ambitions, for one, my own self-proclaimed and self-invented goals, what I wanted to achieve at all costs. Other reasons behind it was because the culture of marketing, business, and especially direct response copywriting is, the objective is to persuade someone to make a sale, to make money, and that's what I learned for 10 years or so. So that was deeply, deeply ingrained within me. But ultimately, I always placed money above everything else. If it didn't make money, it wasn't good. What's the return on investment? What's the return on this? What's the return on that? And the problem that happened when I viewed everything through the lens of ownership, it's down to me, is that one of the things that I have struggled with and still struggle with to this day, and I will be open and honest about it, is pride. Yes, I have an ego, as most males do. I like to think that things were down to my own ability, and sometimes they are down to my own ability. But the problem is that there's so many different factors out there that would interfere and disrupt. You can be the best person in the world at doing something, but because of external factors and things outside your control, it might not go well. And when you struggle with pride, which I did in the past, and less so now, but it's still there, and I struggle with it every single day, is that what happens is, when things go well, when things are good, even if it's down to chance, that makes you proud of yourself, which results in arrogance. And reflecting back, I was very arrogant in the past, arrogant with a whole bunch of things that I can't even begin to think about. And as I'm talking through this video now, I'm starting to have these memories, but I won't talk about them in this video, maybe another one. And then equally as bad is when things don't go well, you start to think that it's your own fault, and you start to blame yourself, and you measure your own self-worth by the performance and the results that you do. In both cases, it's bad. See, an example of the former was that by chance, I had a client come to me through a referral, and within the space of 2 months or so, I suddenly went from making pretty much nothing, at a point where we had nothing, we had no money. Jamie, our first son, was just born, and we had no money in the bank, just a couple of months in reserves. The long-term client relationship I had kind of broke down for a variety of reasons, because it was in the middle of COVID and a whole bunch of things happened there with businesses. And then the referral came, and within 2 months I found myself hitting the financial target that I'd set myself for 10 years kind of thing, for 7 years. 7 years at the time, I don't know, I can't remember the exact time, but this is the financial target I was aiming for such a long time, and then suddenly I got it. Well, did I keep it to myself? Was I quiet about it? Was I humble? Did I factor in that, well, this person came to me as a referral and somehow I've got this? I'm only doing the same things as I've done with other clients, but this new client has all of the business systems and processes in place that the others didn't, and therefore the results are more effective. Didn't factor that in. A whole bunch of other things. And I remember having conversations with people, and I mentioned how much money I'm getting and how much this and how much that, and I'm so proud of myself for doing it. That's the one side of it. it was not good. I elevated my own self-worth and based on the performance I was doing, even though the results I was getting was not down to me. It was sort of, well, this client had these business systems in place, they had all of these assets. All I was doing something that they weren't doing. You know what I mean? If let's say you get a 1% conversion rate on a $5,000 program for every subscriber on your list, on your email list, right? If you've got 100,000 people on your email list and you're continuing to grow your email list and 1% of them buy your $5,000 offer per month, obviously these numbers are just for example, that means 100 people buy your $5,000 program per month, that's $500,000. Okay, let's say 0.1 people buy per month, which is a bit more realistic, I think. So 1 in 1,000 people on your email list buy per month, right? So if you've got 100,000 people there and one person buys, that's 100 people. 100 times 5,000 is 50,000. No, is that right? No, just I didn't have the best sleep. My brain's not working. The point I'm trying to make is that the bigger the email list, at the same conversion rate, the more money that it makes, kind of thing. I took that down to myself and attributed it to my own ability. That's where pride came in. The opposite example, where I view everything through an ownership lens. I own my own performance. My self-worth is tied to performance. Was 2 years ago, I had a race. This is a race that's a trail run. The first time I did it, I did not finish. That was down to lack of experience. It was my first trail run. I did not expect that. I missed the cut-off time midway through the race. After 19 hours, I was out. I came back the following year after training more and more, but this time I was out and didn't finish at the third water station. This one, again, in hindsight, I can say that was down to me. It was the weather conditions were less favourable, hotter, more humid. I had problems with the heat. I didn't know how to solve it. And so it came onto the following year, the third year, and I essentially tied my self-worth to my performance in this race. And so I trained so hard. I hired a coach. I trained so hard for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, maybe even longer in total with everything that I've done. Part of my training included going out to the hills to do 40 to 50 kilometers on the Saturday, and then going back there and doing 40 to 50 kilometers in the hills the following day. Bearing in mind, you think of the sacrifice that is to my family, and all of the other things that happened as well. And then I did the race, and then at the second water station, less than 20 kilometers in, I missed the cut-off time, I was out. Previous to that, the weather conditions were really bad, really humid. Something happened to me. I borderline blacked out, and had to try and resolve that. And I was out. So despite everything that I put into it, I didn't do it. I failed. I was the first, if not one of the first people out as a result of that. Yet I'd probably trained more than the elite runners in the race that were doing it in terms of duration of the training block. The problem is, through ownership, the ownership model there is that I blame myself. I viewed myself as a failure. I attached my performance in that race to my own self-worth. It ended badly for me, to be quite frankly. I fell out of love with running. I stopped working with my running coach. It took me a while to regroup. So that's two examples where pride would cause arrogance or just your own self-worth and self-confidence falling off a cliff, as both instances there were out of my control. If you view things through a stewardship lens where you don't own it, you are there to manage it, that helps you retain humility in what you do, and that is especially important in life and in business. The next concept, I'll go through these very quickly because this video has gone on long and I have more to do. The third principle behind the biblical foundation of relationship stewardship is that love is the highest calling and everything flows from love. So what this means is that if this is one of the core biblical principles, is what Jesus teaches, it's, you know, love yourself and love your neighbours, kind of. Love your neighbours as yourself. Is this the way that you're operating when you're conducting business on a day-to-day basis? Or are you operating out of how can this person benefit me? In many cases, you will be doing this unintentionally. The next principle behind the biblical foundation of relationship stewardship is to give before receiving. And what this means, give before you receive, give before you ask. This is how you will operate out of sacrificial love on a practical level, and how you can be of service to others. And what this means is that you view each person that you come into contact with as an image bearer, and your responsibility is to then serve them to the best of your ability and act out of sacrificial love. It's to uplift them for their flourishing. And what that means is you view the interaction, whether it is briefly during discovery, relationship starting phase, whether it's through a project that you have with a client, or whether it is with former clients that you've had, and you always ask yourself a question: how can I serve this person more? How can I be of service to them? What can I do for their benefit above my own? And what this does is this deepens trust. It builds stronger relationships. You would have clients become friends. You're thinking more of the long term in terms of decades, 10 years from now, rather than short term, what you can gain this month from them. And what you'll find as a byproduct of this approach is that you'll have more client retention. You'll get more introductions without even asking for them. You'll get more referrals. You'll get better quality case studies and testimonials. You'll have deeper, more meaningful relationships with people in your business, and you'll find that your work is better, more joy, more passion for it, which gives you longevity, and as a result, this is one way that you are reflecting Christ in your work. So that's all in this video. I'll see you in the next one.